Back to a Monday edition where the Ravens sign a new player, maybe a new Lamar Jackson contract soon. Talking about that and so much more in this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back to episode 312 of the Purple Rain podcast. Man, the Tony Banks episode, Rashad Bateman, Anthony Brown, Michael Campanaro, Malik Cunningham, Shane Graham, Danny Knight, Jaleel Scott, Vinny Testaverde, Darren Waller, Ernie Wheelwright, and uh, for me most notably, Jacoby Jones episode. May he rest in peace of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. It is kind of nice because we have some good news to talk about. I feel like some not so exciting, but still news that was needed. But I see people are trickling in right now. You can see here, K-Dog saying, "Yo, Rain Gang family, what's good on this Monday evening?" I tell you what is good. Here in Maryland, the weather, it's like low 70s, not
Mm,
humid. It's like long sleeve and jeans weather if you want, or you can rock with a long sleeve and shorts, depending on your vibe. You're not gonna be hot. You're not gonna be cold. Love it. Um,
yeah.
Great weather.
That's honestly like the best weather right there where like you can like literally your whole wardrobe is at your disposal. Right? Nothing is off the table. Nothing is
Yep.
off limits. Like low 70s, clear skies, you literally cannot beat that. Meanwhile, here in Texas, it's like 90 degrees literally every single day and it's only May. So I can only imagine how bad it's going to get from here going into June, July, and August. But yeah, shout out to Maryland. Maryland finally coming around with the good weather. That's the best thing about Maryland, man. I mean, like when spring and summer comes around, that's just the best time of year. It's the best time of year. Some people prefer fall, football, leaves, and Thanksgiving and all that. I love it, but there's nothing like some warm weather to just kind of I don't know makes your skin feel good. You walk outside, it's just nice and toasty, but like not too hot to where you're gonna start sweating in a few seconds. Like it just makes you feel good about life, to be honest with you. So yeah, shout out to the weather finally breaking over on the East Coast. We got Black Daniels in the house. What's going on, Black Daniels? Says gang, King is back. Absolutely. We got Chike in the house says, big up guys for the first time in 20 years. No more schoolwork, no more summer classes. As I graduated from college, I still can't believe it. Derrick Henry signed an extension. Boston eliminated. First of all, Chike,
Congrats.
congratulations to you. Big shout out to our guy Chike for graduating college, man. Big ups to you, brother. Always coming through, always supporting the show. And you still have time to get your assignments done, ace those tests, and you're out of there, man. So big shout out to you. Can't wait to see what you got going on in the future. Um, Let me see. We got Delvin in the building. What's going on? Delvin says, "A flock. What's going on? What's going on, man? Appreciate you for coming through." K Dog giving a big shout out to the hashtag replay gang. That's right. If you're not watching this episode 312 of PRP Live and you happen to be part of the hashtag replay gang, thank you so much for joining this episode of the show. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. K Dog also giving a shout here. Exactly. Smash that damn like button. It's free and it helps these gentlemen out a ton. That is absolutely correct. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, definitely smash, caress, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
that like button. And if you're watching on X right now, first of all, shout out to you. We have a lot of viewers on X. We love you guys. But maybe come over to YouTube every once in a while. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We'd appreciate it. Couple congratulations here for our guy Chike. Let me see. Chike also says a flawless weekend for life reasons and sports reasons. Now all the Ravens need to do is get the one seed in the AFV in the AFC and make the Super Bowl this time because we will. I agree with you there. I agree with you there. That's the missing domino, right? Like that's one thing that would, as Ravens fans, it would kind of I don't want to say complete our life, but like it's just like I don't know, like it's just something that we've been waiting for a long time. So I feel you, Chike. I feel you. But okay, let's go ahead and move along into our topics for this episode of the show. We're not going to hold you guys too long on this episode, but we do have some things we need to address.
Hmm.
So, over the weekend, the Ravens made a move.
Hmm.
They went ahead and they signed defensive line help, most specifically nose tackle help, in the form of a John Jenkins, 13-year veteran. And I don't have all the stats. I know Alex does, but this was a move that a lot of people were kind of clamoring for. A lot of people knew that the Ravens needed some extra defensive line help, especially with the absence or the retiring of Michael Pierce. He was a huge force stopping the run, kind of clogging up those lanes, taking on blockers, things like that. So getting another guy in who's a 13-year vet who can kind of serve that same purpose was very necessary for the Ravens. But Alex, I want to toss it to you. I want to get some information on a new Raven, John Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean, don't sit here and expect him to have a bunch of sacks, have a bunch of tackles for losses. 12-year career as of as of now, going into his 13th. 4.5 sacks over his whole career. 15 tackles for losses. He has one touchdown fumble recovery. Like I said, it's nothing that stands out to you. It's not gonna be your Aaron Donalds, your Javon Hargraves, but I like this move. We're doing the like it, love it, hate it. He is up there in age, but it's a need that if you're an outsider, look at the Ravens, like, oh, I mean, they look pretty good right now, defensively. But if you're a Ravens fan, you know that we are, having that one big hole, and that was, a nose tackle with losing, you know, figuratively and literally, our biggest player on defense. It's hard to replace him. Not gonna say he's gonna replace Michael Pierce in all the ways, but he can help clog up those lanes. I saw him do it. When I was making his highlight video, did it really, really nicely against the Steelers, stopping Najee Harris a couple times for like less than 3 yards. So especially, in this AFC North, you'll have some of the bruising backs and you'll have your faster backs. But for those bruising guys, this is what he's for. Those running downs, this is what he is for. So I like it. I mean, you needed it. Can't go into the season without it. So good on the Ravens for getting it done way before training camp, and on to the next one. Oh, you're muted. Oh,
Oh crap! I forgot I
there
did
we
that.
go.
Yeah, but like my guy Dre says here, good move, needed that big body, absolutely, man. I mean, if anything, we're looking at a solid depth piece here. Like you said, the numbers don't jump off the screen to anybody or anything like that. I mean, this guy is 35 years old, been in the league 13 seasons. Like you said, he's only amassed 4 sacks in his entire career. I think Michael Pierce alone last year had 2. So it's just like, it's definitely going to be a clear drop off because this isn't like a young stud or whatever. This is like a long tenured veteran who is literally just there as a mercenary, really to just kind of plug the holes. So we will see what fruit that bears. But I will also say that it makes me happy that the Ravens front office kind of knows exactly which directions to go and they're addressing all the needs now. You know what I mean? Like we're not going into the season wondering, okay, who is going to replace Michael Pierce? We're not going into the season wondering like, oh, is Dennis Johnson and the rest of the coaches are going to be able to, you know, coach this defensive line to another top 3 rushing defense season? Like they're answering questions. So I mean, again, it's a net positive. If I had to say like it, love it, or hate it, I'm right there with you. I would say I like it. I can't say I love it because again, this is not like a stud by any means, and I wasn't expecting to get one, but this is definitely a need. I like to say a lot on this podcast, like a lot of fans, they want the sexy acquisitions of, who's the edge rusher out there, or who's a premier safety. Oh, let's go get Justin Simmons. You know what I mean? But like this is like your fruits and vegetables, right? On that line, right? This is the stuff you actually need for the health of your team. So again, I like the move a lot. It really shows where the Ravens front office is at, and I think that with all the moves, and of course, this is just kind of like I don't even want to say the cherry on top because it's really not even a cherry. It's just kind of like a little extra garnish, right, on top of whatever we're making here, whatever food we're making. This is I don't know. This is I think we're all in, man. This is indicative of like we're all in again. The Super Bowl window I think is opening back up slowly but surely. Especially with the deals, contract extension for Derrick Henry, locking him up for another 3 years, 2 years if we're not including the last year on his deal currently, and then also all the acquisitions in the draft, man. I think that we got a lot younger in some very important spots. I think that the Lamar Jackson extension is coming soon, and we're actually going to talk about that in a minute here. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm fully on board with all the moves that the Ravens are making this offseason. I am.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about them making the move now because going back a couple of years when our run defense was getting torched by Nick Chubb, we had to go out and sign a Jihad Ward, a Damata Pecco, because our guys couldn't get it done. Compared to us now, we don't need to take that big loss for that big game where we may have squeezed it out, but the defense looked awful. We're getting it done now, and if it doesn't work out, you have more than enough time to maybe go out there and get somebody else. Like you said, it's not you said a sexy pick. It's not sexy Dexter Lawrence. It's John Jenkins, and it's a guy that
Right.
the Ravens will probably work their magic one, like we always do, and he'll probably have a really, really good year. I'm like, wow, this guy's 35 years old and somehow put up 2 sacks when in his whole career he had 4.5. It makes
Right.
no sense, but it's a Raven. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to get somebody for that position as I love it, but I think like it's the best you can do, and I think that's what they did for the price, probably a vet minimum. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be mad at it whatsoever. But like you said, man, we have gone younger in a lot of spots, and I'm right there with you. I think the all-in mentality is pretty good. I think we could have went harder on some positions, but it's just being smart with your money. You gotta save some money for the regular season. Who knows
Yeah.
what could happen? Hope nothing bad. But the only thing to me that can really top off this offseason is kind of what you brought up is that Lamar Jackson extension. It really is. I think it would just set this franchise, I think, further ahead. Like what you're building with, and you can plan out your future even more. You have your running
Yeah.
back now locked in for 3 more years, and that announcement was today officially. Was cool to hear what Derrick Henry had to say. But outside of that, man, I mean, things are kind of looking good. It's nice having a lot of good news and only bad news with Ardarius Washington and stuff. But you have
Yeah.
Malachi Starks behind him, and Dre brings him here. I like Kane and Braid a lot, but Justin Simmons would be crazy. It would be, but I'm thinking he's asking 9-10 mil for 1 year contract, and unfortunately, we don't have that money to be giving out.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's just certain moves at this point that the Ravens just can't afford. I think that, like we mentioned on the last episode, Malachi Starks is going to be the one that a lot of the coaches in the Ravens building are looking at. They're going to be looking at basically, okay, like yes, we're down at safety right now because our Darius Washington, of course, he's out for the season. But we just drafted a safety in the first round. Surprise, surprise. So like the training wheels got to come off quicker than we would think. And I think that that's going to be the move that's made. And I think that's kind of like the silver lining. Like we kind of really get to see Malachi Starks like not babied so much because he's going to be forced to play. So we'll see what he's really got instinctually, natural physical ability before he really gets settled into the NFL. There probably will be some growing pains on the back end. I'm not disputing that at all. I think that with last year, seeing what happened with Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams and how that kind of took some time to figure out, okay, this isn't working. We need to make a switch. I think that we'll probably go through some growing pains this season as well. With the safety room as good as it is, with Malachi Starks and a Kyle Hamilton back there, and then backed up by Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid. Uh, there's going to be some pain points. There will be some pain points. But listen, we do have our first super chat donation of the episode. This one's coming from a friend of the show, The Flock Rundown. He's doing his thing over there on YouTube. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Thank you so much dropping the 5-piece in the chat, making it rain here on episode 312 of the Purple Rain podcast. Says, keep up the great work, guys. Would love to have you both on the channel soon if you're down. Either way, keep killing it. Love the show. Absolutely,
Thank you,
man. We're
man.
down.
For sure.
Yeah, we're definitely down for sure. We can definitely
A
set
little group
something up.
DM going. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll, we'll
let's do
we'll get
that.
it works.
Yeah, we'll get that going. We'll get that going. Thank you so much, brother. Again, we
Great,
appreciate
great.
you, everything you're doing in the Ravens community. Again, make sure you guys go follow or subscribe to the Flock Rundown on YouTube. Okay, let me see. Brian DeRosa says, how are we feeling about this roster versus the roster exactly
Ooh,
1 year ago today? That's a good question, Alex.
that's a
What do you
really
think?
good question. I don't want to take up too much time because we don't want to go too crazy. But if we're gonna go, position by position, I think quarterback. Obviously, I didn't think he could. I knew Lamar was something like that, but I mean, the level he took it last year was insane. I think he probably has another level he can go to. Running back, I think it's better. I think you're adding a fully healthy Keaton Mitchell over Rasheen Ali. Justice Hill is coming off of his best year by far, and Derrick Henry with another chip on his shoulder, which I don't know how that chip can get even bigger. Receiver wise, you're switching out Nelson Aguilar for DeAndre Hopkins. You have a Rashad Bateman coming off his best year, and Isaiah Flowers
Yep.
coming off our Pro Bowl year. I'm feeling a lot better about that. Tight end wise, I saw a growth from Likely.
Hmm.
Andrews led the league touchdowns with tight ends. Obviously, we know how it ended. I still know he will get his in the regular season. Postseason is a big question mark. O line, a little bit better, I'd say. Draft wise, I did like what we did. And then right tackle, you have Rosengarten in year two, and Stanley coming off a very healthy year. Same with Linderbaum. So the line a little bit better than last year, but the offense as a whole, I'm feeling pretty damn good about. I'll let you go about offense, then we can switch to the defense.
Well, yeah, actually, I was waiting for you to get to the defense because my biggest point is on the defensive side of the football. I mean, like I like everything that you said about the offense, specifically upgrading that wide receiver three spot from Nelson Aguilar to DeAndre Hopkins. I think that that is something that a lot of Ravens fans aren't thinking about because it was a move that was made fairly early on in this offseason. You know, we've had the draft and other acquisitions since then, so people aren't really thinking about that, but that is a huge factor, and I think that again with Lamar Jackson, not to get too deep into this, but Lamar Jackson loves his veteran wide receivers, right? He had been clamoring to get an Odell Beckham Jr. He got him. He had been clamoring to get a DeAndre Hopkins just as of 2-3 years ago. He got him now, right? So I think that he's definitely going to be intentional about getting him the football, and we might see a little bit of a revival of DeAndre Hopkins' career. You know, I think that he hit a rock bottom last season, especially in that Super Bowl, dropping that clutch third down throw where he was wide open. You know, Mahomes could have put it on him a little bit better, but you know that's a catch that DeAndre Hopkins always would make throughout the course of his career. But flipping over to the defensive side of the
Mhm.
football, right? And I'm not sure exactly what you have for this, but for me, when I'm looking at our edge rushing group, right? Any season where we're going into the season coming off of an Adafe Owe 10 sack season, like double digit sacks from him, double digit sacks from Kyle Van Noy. And oh, by the way, we brought in some young blood talent as well, right? A first round pick in terms of value, right? We got him at pick 59. We all know why he fell. But this is somebody, Mike Green, that is I'm talking about, out of Marshall, led the nation in sacks last season. And I'm excited to see how that production translates to the NFL. Obviously, lots of scouts, lots of coaches think it will translate to the NFL. But the only reason why he dropped was, for some off the field stuff that happened a little while ago. But I'm excited to see exactly how this edge rushing room with Dr. Rush at the helm takes a step forward. Because if they can take a step forward and the Ravens become one of those teams where you have to legitimately fear their edge rushers, I think that makes the Ravens three times as more dangerous as they were last season. So that's what I have for defense, and I definitely feel better about this roster today, Brian DeRosa, as opposed to the roster exactly 1 year ago today. But what do you got for the defense?
Yeah, I'm right there with you edge wise. I mean, we didn't lose anybody in the edge room. Only got better, like you said, adding a first round talent in Mike Green. And like you said, we had two edge rushers coming off of 10 sack seasons. Tavius Robinson, I thought situationally played pretty good. I'm not really, worried about the departures. Obviously, Brandon Stevens had a good year 23. Not that good
Yeah,
last year, and same with Marcus Williams. So you bring in Cheeto Bay Awuzie and Malachi Starks.
yeah,
I think that's pretty damn good. You have Nate Wiggins in year two, who, if he found his hands in that Week 18 game, um, the whole year he would have 4 or 5 picks. He dropped that many. He did.
yeah.
We have Marlon Humphrey coming off of, I'll say, his best year as a defensive back. Interception wise. I mean, I did this video yesterday. I'm like, he kind of got scammed for defensive player of the year votes. When you really look at when he had his turnovers and the level of play he was playing at,
They're
there
clutch.
weren't that
Yeah,
many players better than him defensively.
he
Every
saved us that first game against the Bengals.
Bengals, the Steelers, he picks it off when they're driving down. Unfortunately, that's when the Justice Hill pick came the next drive, but that could have been a
Hmm.
game winner right there. He had 2 picks against the Bucks, one in the end zone. One when we were down. Like every time he was making a play, we needed it. Um, and then he had the pick against the Bengals as well
Yeah,
in Cincinnati, knowing that we were able to go down, kick a field goal, take it to OT. And then linebacker wise, though, I do want to see Roquan Smith step it up, take it to the level where I think he needs to be playing at. I was a little disappointed in him last year, and now I'm seeing, Fred Warner got his extension. So
yeah,
Roquan, you got a little something to prove now. You're not the highest paid linebacker. Show him why you should be the highest paid linebacker. But defensively wise, I'm feeling really good. Trent Simpson year two, and then Teddy Buchanan behind him. Hopefully, if it doesn't work out, but not many holes or not many positions where we got worse at than last year. I'd say that.
yeah. And you bring up a point about Roquan Smith's contract and Fred Warner just getting extended today. It made me really think about how the NFL currently views linebackers, right? Because Roquan got his deal, I believe, in 2022, worth, I want to say, $21 million dollars a year or something like that. And Fred Warner just signed an extension today where he's going to be making $22 million dollars a year. So the market has not moved pretty much at all for linebackers. Whereas quarterbacks, they're going up by tens of millions pretty much every single season. And I know quarterback is a much more important position in the grand scheme of things in football as opposed to linebacker. But I think this is a good segue for our next topic of the show. Um, quarterback extensions, quarterback contracts, right? We just got another huge one. What was it, yesterday? I think the news broke yesterday or earlier
Yeah.
today, one of the two. Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers quarterback, just got signed to a contract extension with the 49ers where I don't know. I don't have all the numbers in front of me. Alex, do you have the numbers?
Yeah, I have it right now. I
What are the
have it in my
numbers?
head.
Yeah.
5 years, 265 million. 5,265.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lamar, we were
And
talking 3,133 in
yeah.
2022.
And it's so weird to me because I feel like a quarterback of Brock Purdy's caliber, you're not asking him to necessarily win you games. You're only really asking him not to lose you games. And there are a handful of quarterbacks that you ask them to go out there and win you the game. Lamar Jackson is one of them. Josh Allen is another one. Patrick Mahomes in a lot of spots is another one too. I could even argue Joe Burrow. I can argue for Jaden Daniels. We saw him put the team on his back multiple times last season. Shout out to JD5. Um, but yeah, I just I get like Brock Purdy is like a very safe, stable pick. Very stable. And it's like I feel like NFL GMs and some of these coaches nowadays are valuing stability over upside. And that just would not be my philosophy if I was running an NFL franchise. And maybe that's why I don't run an NFL franchise. But that's just me. Like, if I don't think that you can genuinely will our team to a Super Bowl against all odds, right? And of course, there'll be things that happen along the way. Lamar Jackson hasn't made it there yet either. But if I don't see it in you, if I don't know that you have the ability to do something spectacular on 3rd and 11, right? On 4th and 2, right? When your team's gotta have it. Like if I don't know that you have that ability, that X factor ability, and I like to say that a lot, that X factor ability, basically that dynamism, right? If you don't have that, then I'm sorry, I don't want to pay you like a top tier quarterback, right? I don't want to pay top dollar for mid. That's just me. But what are you thinking about this Brock Purdy contract? And by the way, where does he rank right now in terms of average salary, per year?
I'll have to find that out for you.
Okay, go ahead.
181 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
Let's just deep that real quick. 181 million guaranteed for a guy whose team went 6-9 when he was starting last year.
yeah,
Um, I have. Let me just start this off. I have no problems with Brock Purdy. I like him. I think it was a very cool story. But this guy did that with no Ayuk and no Debo Samuel.
right.
What are we expecting this year with his receivers? They got Demarcus Robinson, Brandon Ayuk coming off the ACL, and what else? McCaffrey, who I'll be honest, what's his health looking like? 'Cause we don't know.
Yeah,
I think, listen, John Lynch is a very smart football mind, but I just don't see what this gains at all. I mean, I think they could have gotten him for a lot cheaper, and I don't think he's worth 50 million a year. I really don't.
yeah. Me neither. And I'm actually looking at the rankings right now for quarterback contracts. It looks like Brock Purdy is tied for 7th in the league, making $53 million a year. Ahead of him, you got Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Dak Prescott is making the most at quarterback in the league at 60 million per. And even Dak, even Dak, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, like not to call them all mid, but that's they're kind of like the upper end of
Yeah,
mid. If I'm being honest with you, you know what I'm saying? And it's like I don't think that it makes a whole lot of sense. Now, here's where I do get it. Here's where I do get it. Like if you take my philosophy and you run with it, right? That you don't want to just stick with stability. You want to constantly be chasing upside. You will probably have to up in your roster every 1 to 2 years in order to do that. And I feel like a lot of NFL GMs, they don't want that headache of like kind of wondering each year, okay, which quarterback is coming out of this draft that we need to get that, can take our franchise to the next level. They would rather stick with somebody who's not going to lose in the game. And I think this has a lot to do with the coach, right? Shanahan, right? I think that Shanahan was a big advocate for keeping Brock Purdy on this team because Brock Purdy allows Kyle Shanahan to run whatever offense that Shanahan wants to run in structure, in his structure, right? He doesn't have to worry about like a Lamar Jackson who, play breaks down, Lamar just goes off and he does his own thing, and now we're at Lamar's mercy, right? Shanahan wants the 49ers to stay at his mercy. And I think that that ultimately will be their downfall. We've seen it time and time again. Unless you have literally the best defensive line in the league in the Eagles, probably not going to happen with a mid quarterback. You're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is mid. That's another story for another day. But again, man, I just don't see why the 49ers are really hitching their cart to Brock Purdy for 5 years, $181 million guaranteed, I think you said. And now he's one of the top paid quarterbacks in the league. It just does not make sense to me.
I mean, the good thing for them is they can draft, but I'm looking at the same list you are, and there's some quarterbacks contracts are different than others. Cause look at guys like Dak Prescott making 16 mil
Yeah,
that have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, and there's guys like Josh Allen who are throwing at Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, guys like Tua who were throwing at Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill,
right.
and then there's guys like I guess Jordan Love throwing to Jaden Reed, now as a flashy first round pick. Like, there's guys making lots of money, but some have these X factor receivers, and some have some pretty good receivers, and that's different, And I kind of
Yeah,
think some are due for more slander than other. I think Dak is rightly criticized because he has no excuses. You're getting all this money. You have now two number one wide receivers, whether you like it or not, and you
yeah,
got to now show out. I mean, that's a tough division. They could very well be a 6 or 7 seed and then be a first round exit. Just how good the NFC East is now. So
yeah,
this
yeah.
quarterback contract stuff is crazy. I still can't believe Tua is paid that much off of not even having a playoff win. I mean, even Herbert too.
Right.
It's Trevor Lawrence 1-1 in the playoffs, 55 million per year, and his team was
That's
just
what
drafting number 2 overall because of how bad they were last year.
I know, man. It literally it goes to show where the heads are at of these NFL coaches, the scouts, the GMs, and maybe the GMs and the coaches kind of butt heads a little bit on what direction these franchises should go. I'm sure they do, but it seems to be like the general consensus around the league is that, hey, look, if we even get a quarterback that can have us go positive, if we can go over 500 and you don't make a shit ton of mistakes, yeah, we're going to keep you. And yeah, we're going to make you one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, right? Regardless of the context of who you're throwing to, whatever, as long as you can keep us afloat. Teams just want to stay afloat, right? And just kind of hope that they can build around whatever quarterback that they have that doesn't make too many mistakes, and that will lead them to a Super Bowl ultimately. And I think that the way a lot of people feel about Jalen Hurts kind of reinforces this line of thinking, because like it shows you like, okay, Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback. But I think we would all agree he's not on the level of a Lamar Jackson. He's not on the level of a Josh Allen, just in terms of like how dynamic he is. Yes, he's played really well in two Super Bowls, right? Outperformed Patrick Mahomes in two Super Bowls. But I think most people would agree that Jalen Hurts is not a top. He's not on the Mount Rushmore of current quarterbacks, right? I'm on record saying that I think I would put him top five, maybe top six, just because of the playoff success and what he's been able to do there in that space. Um, but I think a lot of teams around the league are looking at, okay, Jalen Hurts is good, but he's not amazing, right? But the rest of the Eagles roster is amazing. So if we can just land a quarterback who can not make mistakes, right? Um, who can just basically like get us by. If we can land a quarterback like that and then just build everywhere around him, we'll be good. We can win a Super Bowl like the Eagles. We can get to a Super Bowl like the 49ers. Game managers, right?
You know who Loki just described?
Who's that?
Joe Flacco. Like Loki, like when you really
Mm,
deep it, you know what I mean? Like he turned up in the playoffs. He had a good
yeah,
roster around him, and he performed when he had to.
yeah,
When we're talking regular season, I mean, we knew what was there, but
yeah.
I'm not trying to compare the two. But it's kind of funny. It's like that just kind of is who I thought of right there. You know what I mean? Like he had a really good roster around him, but man, that playoff run is what we're talking about. And now you bring Jalen Hurts in the playoffs, outperforming Patrick Mahomes. Shit, Joe Flacco outperformed Tom Brady damn near every time they played in the playoffs.
That's true.
But Joe wasn't up there with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers in that era. No, like he didn't get his respect. So I can definitely see where you're coming from there. That was just funny as Ravens fans. That's who I just thought of immediately.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So talking about the Ravens' current quarterback, Lamar Jackson, obviously this means that he's going to be next in line, more than likely. And like we talked about earlier, the Ravens are definitely going to extend him in order to extend their Super Bowl window subsequently. So I think that, like you mentioned to me before we went on air, uh, basically take whatever Brock Purdy's number and just pile some on top. I think that they definitely got to get past the 60 million. They might land at like 62 or 63, somewhere in that range, just so he can get above Dak. He can be the highest paid quarterback of all time, of course, briefly, because and if you're the Ravens, you definitely want to get out ahead. You want to get out ahead of this Lamar Jackson contract situation, because guess what? Next year, there's going to be guys in line to get paid and extended, guys like CJ Stroud, guys like Jaden Daniels, guys like that, right? And they're going to be breaking the bank too for their respective franchises. So it makes more sense now to get ahead of like the next real big wave of these extensions before it gets a little bit too out of pocket. I know the cap is growing, but if Eric DaCosta is smart, which I know he is, he's a very smart man. He definitely wants to get out ahead of it, so that way he can actually still put pieces around Lamar Jackson, because it's about the pieces around the quarterback, right? NFL football is a very team sport, very collaborative sport, right? No one singular player. It's not like basketball where you can have one star player who literally just wills you to all your wins, right? Michael Jordan, 6-0 in the finals. Um, that's all you really needed was MJ, right? Of course, Scotty was there too, but MJ was the guy. Lamar Jackson has, I don't want to compare Lamar Jackson, LJ to MJ. I don't. But what I do want to say is that Lamar Jackson, he has that same kind of presence with the Ravens, right? Like, he's obviously the best player on the field whenever they're playing, pretty much regardless of who they're playing, right? He's always pretty much going to be the best player on the field. But you got to be able to build around him if you want it to work in the playoffs, right? And certain guys around him in the playoffs have not stepped up. And largely, I mean, he hasn't stepped up in some places either, you know. But where I give Lamar Jackson, and I want to get off this after this, but where I give Lamar Jackson a lot of credit in the playoffs specifically, when the going gets tough and it's time to make something happen, he's doing everything in his power to make something happen. Like, of course, he had a bad first half against the Bills in that divisional round, but that second half, damn near flawless football, right? I mean, there's just no debating it. And even from his very first year in the league, and I'm not even talking about the MVP year in 2019. I'm talking about 2018, the loss to the Chargers, right? Got down early. I understand that, but that fourth quarter, the comeback was ferocious. It was looking ferocious. You may call it garbage time, whatever, but this is a rookie Lamar Jackson who people told him he cannot throw. All he can do is run around, and he made play after play after play to try to claw the Ravens back into that game. So again, man, Lamar Jackson, he's amazing. He's phenomenal. We say it all the time on this podcast. However, you do have to make sure you have enough money on the books available in order to put good enough pieces around him to ultimately win the championship.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon did fumble in that game, by the way. I will not forget that. Marlon Humphrey returned it for a touchdown. He was never down. The ball was coming out. But yeah, that was I mean, most games, even the Titans game, trying to claw back,
Yeah,
just didn't happen. Tip balls, Boykin, I know, miscommunication. Hopefully we're past those days and on to the next. But
yeah,
that's really all I got there. Up the contract what Purdy got. Make Lamar, damn near the highest paid quarterback if it fits your bill. If you can't do it average wise, just give him the most money, bonuses and all that guarantees. Just give it to him. You know what I mean? I don't care
yeah,
what it is. He's worth it and then some.
yeah. He's 1,000% worth it. Without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are literally back to square one. Like, we've seen the
Yeah.
Ravens without Lamar Jackson. We can't score. We can't get 20.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is what it is. Pay the guy. He needs to be the highest paid player in the league. But again, I'll wrap all this up by saying, you know, at some point, you know, league GMs, coaches, scouts, they're going to have to wake up and smell the coffee that if you do not have one of these top end quarterbacks in terms of like arm talent, in terms of like how dynamic these guys are, eventually that will catch up to you. Because let me tell you this, defenses are getting much better. Right, defenses are getting much better year to year. Guys are getting bigger, faster, stronger, just by human evolution. Right, so at a certain point, it won't make any sense. Like, the risk won't be worth the reward, right? If we're having like a middle of the pack quarterback. And I do understand, to have like upper echelon quarterbacks, you also have to have mid quarterbacks. I get that too. But I think that a lot of these franchises now are kind of like, how do I say, like, just kind of like mortgaging their future on like these kind of like middle of the pack quarterbacks, like a Brock Purdy, like a Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? Not trying to let go of it, not trying to hit the reset button and rebuild all the way. I, Eventually, I think that these teams are going to get fed up, man. And you're going to start seeing a lot more quarterbacks drafted in the first couple of rounds of these drafts in the next couple of years. And there's just going to be a big carousel going on, man, because patience wears thin. It used to be. It used to be that, like, starting quarterbacks had a couple of years, right, in order to at least prove that they are at least mid. Now you have until Thanksgiving of your second season to prove that you are at least mid, right? If you can't do that, they're swapping you out. But I think that the bar goes higher. I think that by a quarterback's second season, I'd say in about 5 to 10 years, quarterbacks who are drafted to teams, if they are not performing on a above average level, right? If they're not creating the CJ Stroud or the Jaden Daniels effect in their first couple of seasons, then I think teams are going to be much more likely to move off of them and just kind of keep the carousel going in terms of quarterbacks. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins didn't even get a full year with the Falcons,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I think
that goes
teams
to
are
show
getting
you
fed up.
enough. Yeah, the
Exactly.
the future is now, basically, is what they told him, and now he's riding the bench, and Michael Penix is not a starting quarterback. It's just NFL, not for long,
Not
not
for
for
long.
freaking
Not for long. And it's the no feelings league. So, you know, I can see why. But again, shout out to Brock Purdy. But Lamar Jackson is next. We got East Coast Gridiron in the house. What's going on East Coast? Says
long.
teams are not willing to invest in their quarterbacks. So until we stop cycling, it won't ever stop. I say on my channel, quarterbacks should only be drafted in the second round. Franchises will be happier. That's interesting. But no,
They're
I
gonna be so
agree.
inclined to start him off rip.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at Jalen Hurts, second round pick, sat behind Wentz. I think it worked out.
Real quick, before we get out of here, what do you think about Jalen Milrow being compared to Lamar Jackson and him being in Mike
So,
McDonald's?
that's so forced. That
It
is
is.
so forced, dude. I mean, if they did, yeah, you can tell who watched Lamar at Louisville and who didn't, and who watched Jalen
That's
Milrow
true.
at Bama and who didn't.
That's true.
Now you watch some college football, man. Like
The
it means
Louisville
something.
Lamar highlights still circulate the internet like
Yep.
on a weekly basis, pretty much. I don't know if just because I'm a Ravens fan, my algorithm knows I love Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but I see it all the time. By the way, have you seen that thread? Whatever guys posting the thread of quarterbacks 20+ air yard
Hmm.
throws with clean
Yep.
pockets. I think Lamar Jackson's came out today. I got to go watch that
Yeah.
after this. I think it's like a 6 or 7 minute video. I just need to remind myself how good Lamar Jackson is throwing the football inside the numbers, outside the numbers, whatever you want. But I think that was a pretty cool thread. I can't remember the guy's name on X, but shout out to him, whoever's doing it. Or her, who knows? We also have Tanja Bowman in the house. What's going on, Tanja? Says a lot of players have not stepped up. Lamar puts us in position to win. The Zay fumble, the Isaiah toe, the Andrews fumble, the 2 point conversion, defense, no takeaways, no impact plays in the playoffs. I mean, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, Tanja. Like, yes, Lamar Jackson has his faults. Yes, he turns the ball over here and there in the playoffs. There's a lot of other quarterbacks who turn the ball over in the playoffs, but the rest of the team around them tends to make up for it, right? Whether it be the defense forcing a turnover of their own, whether it be, again, the crazy stat that I think I brought up on last week's episode about Lamar Jackson's offenses starting in opponent's territory, starting drives in opponent's territory in the playoffs. He's never done it. He's never done it. Like, let that sink in. Like in the
Big
eight
punt return,
playoff
maybe
games,
kick
right?
return.
Something. In the 8 games that Lamar Jackson has played in the playoffs, right? 8 playoff games. He has never started a drive in opponent's territory past the 50-yard line. That's embarrassing. That cannot happen. Like, you have to be able to help your franchise quarterback in those big moments. You just do. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me see. Before we get out of here, let me see. Dre says hopefully Milrow improves, but I'm sorry he wasn't that good the last 2 seasons I watched him. That was the kind of consensus that I got as well. Very raw talent, but the physical abilities is something that a lot of teams are kind of looking for nowadays. I mean, i.e. Anthony Richardson, who's currently battling his job, with Daniel Jones. So
Mm.
we'll see how that shakes out. Let me see. Love Milrow, but Lamar is better in college as well. I'm a college guy heavy, and I defended Milrow until I saw that thing about Lamar. That is idiotic to say.
I feel
A little
like
disrespectful.
we are our own worst enemies, man. Like just a comparison. You can say um I'm just not big on the comparisons. I just don't like the going against because different time frames of football as well. College has gotten completely different to how it used to be with all
True.
NIL stuff, playing better colleges and that. So I think I'll stay away from them. Happy I'm not the one who brought that comp up because if you got chewed out for that, deservedly so.
Yeah,
Deservedly so.
yeah. Okay. Anything else we need to get to before we get out of here, Alex?
Think that is all. The
I
Ravens
think
for the
that's it.
NFL.
How about some women's hoops? I mean, you had the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese thing happening yesterday. That was kind of crazy. I'm not
I'll be
gonna lie.
honest.
Yeah.
I watched Haley Van Lith play ball. That's what I saw. That's what my eyes took from all of it. Um, that other stuff. Um,
Oh
there's
wait,
some
because she
discourse
plays with
going on.
Chicago, right?
She does play for Chicago.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah,
she
yeah,
does
yeah.
play for
And she just
Chicago.
had that Sports Illustrated shoot too.
Indeed, she did. Indeed, she did. Hey, listen. Jalen Suggs, my brother, good man, very good man, very
Wait,
good man.
is that who she's dating or something?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. I
yeah.
didn't know that. Interesting.
Um, I shall say nothing big, related to Terrell Suggs, my favorite Raven of all time. So, who am I?
Interesting.
Who am I to say anything?
Wow.
But yeah, I saw that. Tell you what, though, you can tell who just has watched sports for their life. These new sports fans, man. Oh my gosh, I've had to mute some stuff on my feed because it's like
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
bad.
there's a lot of discourse about the reaction that Angel Reese had to the Caitlyn foul and stuff like that. But I think that a lot of people are only really talking about it because we don't necessarily see women athletes kind of go at each other like
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of jarring almost. It's like, wait a minute, the guys do this. Like the women don't. But I do think, and I said this in a video yesterday, I think that Angel Reese is very triggered by Caitlin Clark for multiple reasons. I mean, they've kind of been around each other since college and stuff like that, had their rivalry going. And at the end of the day, Angel Reese is a good player. I don't think she's a great player. I think that Caitlin Clark right now in the NBA in the WNBA is a good player, but she has potential to be maybe one of the all-time greats, And maybe there's a little bit of jealousy there, and who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I wish people would stop talking about it like it is such like a like a taboo thing for women to kind of go after each other, in sports. It's literally sports at the highest level. Like passions are going to be running high, so I understand the ladies there. But yeah, I just want to go ahead and bring that
hey,
up.
watch some UFC. If you're surprised about ladies, you watch them beat their ass in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of these people who are just watching the WNBA, just go watch some UFC, man. They don't.
yeah.
It
I
doesn't matter.
love that.
It
Yeah, I
doesn't.
like that a lot. Cause yeah, go watch some women fight in the UFC and then come back to WNBA and see like the little dust ups that happen and whatnot. There is no comparison. And of course, they're two different sports, but just so you can people can kind of get it through their skulls that okay, like women are competitive too, right? Women don't want to take shit from each other on the court, on the field, on the pitch, wherever they're doing. They just don't. So I don't know. I love the moment, and I think it's great for the WNBA.
Hmm.
I think that they'll continue to grow. And right now, I know that they're still in the red, like they're losing money every season. But I think that with stars like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, of course, Juju Watkins coming up, HVL, a lot of these girls, right? Nafisia Collins is projected to win MVP. You've got a bunch of other girls. Of course, there's still Asia Wilson. The list goes on and on.
I saw Kelsey
Um,
Plum had a big game for LA. Cameron
Kelsey
Brink
Plum.
coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
I'll tell
actually
you
bet on
this.
her on Prize Picks yesterday.
5 years ago, I probably couldn't name about three WNBA players on my hand.
Yeah,
Now I can probably name a lot more than that. So
yeah.
that's really good. I'm a casual, I'd say. So it's good to see in that case.
Speaks volumes. Speaks volumes. Let me see. Jabari Cruz Ellis in the house says, "What's up, Purple Rain Gang? This is what the WNBA needs. More rivalries in the WNBA.
See,
Absolutely, brother.
we had what Hines Ward beefing with like every single Ravens defensive player, and we loved it. We weren't sitting
Yeah,
here, writing think pieces about it. We freaking just loved it. So
yeah,
that's kind of what makes sports great is rivalries and the fandom. So there's a line you can't cross though, unfortunately, and I surprisingly football didn't cross that line compared to what I've seen online. But East Coast saying good show guys between them more often earned a sub. Thank you, East Coast. We
Thank
really
you, brother.
appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah.
And look who's in here. Gerald Lawson. G
Hey,
freaking money.
what's going on,
What's going
G
on, Gerald?
Money?
Long time no see.
Appreciate you. Yeah, long time no see. Appreciate you for coming through, brother. Hope you're doing well. He says, "What up, Miss the PRP game? What PRP game?
PRP gang, maybe?
Oh,
maybe.
gang. Maybe the gang. Yeah, maybe the gang. Yeah, we missed you. We missed you, Gerald. Come through more often, brother. Come through more often. Let me see. Dre giving a shout out to the Legend G Money. Absolutely. Okay. So I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for this episode 312 of PRP. Thank y'all so much for coming through to this one. Make sure you like the video before you get out of here. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new, like our guy East Coast Gridiron. You know, he was new here. He liked the content he consumed. He subscribed. And that's what we want here. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you felt the same way as East Coast, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on X right now, yes, we are wrapping up, but make sure you head over to our YouTube at the Purple Rain Podcast, like you see that right there down below. Make sure you give us a sub, man. Give us a sub. We'd appreciate it. We'd appreciate it. But okay. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can also go on manscaped.com and use our code PRP to save yourself 20% off your order plus the free international shipping, which is always the kicker. Again, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at SuttonDef. You can follow this guy over here on Twitter at SimplyAS10 and on Instagram at SimplyAS10.prod. And with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through episode 312 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Episode 312 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.